do. She'll never let you go. She may not let you know, but she's in love with you. So if you happen to be out one night and someone asks you where you're gonna go, just remember she's not like the other girls. She may not want them all to know. Though she may need a little time, she never wants to stand in line the way they would. So treat her nice, treat her good, treat her like you know you should. You may never find another girl like her, 'cause she's in love with you. That's all she wants to do. She'll never let you down, she'll never fool around, 'cause she's in love with you. She's in love with you. That's all she wants to do. She'll never let you go. She may not let you know, but she's in love with you. So take her home and hold her close. Touch her where she feels the most, but be true. And when she's making love to you, she'll do what you want her to. Treat her good, treat her like you know you should. You may never find another girl like her, 'cause she's in love with you. That's all she wants to do.
Happy New Year, our users, and welcome back, Leather Tuscadero. Haven't seen you for a while, and your amazing raspy voice and your fantastic bass playing. My name is John Kulas. I'm a 20-year professor of industrial and organizational psychology. I guess I can say now 12-year user of R for normal, boring statistical applications. But for the majority of those 12 years, now 9 or 10 of those years, I've also been executing entire projects from within the same environment that I specify my R analyses. And so different fields have different names for this. It's sometimes referred to as literate programming. It's also consistent with this concept of reproducible research that's become kind of a buzzword within social and behavioral sciences. But I'm here every week live to make myself available as a resource to other people that might be interested in doing this. As an industrial and organizational psychologist, our focus of study is work, people and work, and I really have a very strong conviction that this is the way that you should be structuring your work if you're doing quantitative analytical things. So I'm here every Tuesday at roughly, well, I think I've been pretty consistent on this. So at 7 o'clock Eastern, and try to go for about an hour. I'm not so great about that. We've been going over quite a bit the last few weeks. I can be a little verbose, and I got no one here kind of reining me in. So we try to use the metaphor of an academic office hour. And when I say we, there's some collaborators that occasionally stop by here and hang out with us. But we use the metaphor of an academic office hour such that if you are interested in this and want someone to just bounce some ideas off of, pop in. I'll keep an eye, I try to keep an eye on the comments, and I'll keep an eye on that. And if anyone has any questions, that's always priority on these weekly sessions. Now, kind of what this is morphed into wasn't my intent to start. That's true of so much in life, but my intent starting this was to focus on kind of shared problem solving. That was the aspect of professoring that I enjoyed the most, was sitting down with students and working on focused topics of question and trying to problem solve. But in the absence of that, what we've been doing is we've been focused on just a topic that's relevant to this general idea of crafting your narrative and your analyses within the same source document. And we've also been kind of climbing the alphabet. So starting with the letter A, we're now up to the letter Q. And so what I thought we would do today is actually take kind of a they say sometimes 10,000 foot perspective, but pull back a little bit and explore this software platform that we've been using that really facilitates our ability to craft our analysis and our narrative within the same space. And so we'll take a look at Quarto tonight, and I think we'll look at it a little different. I'm excited about that actually, to kind of pull back and do a little reflection on Quarto. Now, speaking of reflection, I wanted to take a little bit of time here and do kind of a state of the channel kind of talk, I guess, or discussion. So we, I, I shared, I always share the slides, the weekly slides that you're looking at. They're available in the comments, and if you get to this too quickly, after the live stream, the comments might not be populated, so they'll be in the description of the video as well. Um, there's a new hosting site, so Posit, the company that gave us Quarto and also gave us our studio, and gave us so many wonderful products. They're not going to support the hosting site that I was using. I was kind of overusing it, I guess. But that's not going to, and I knew that wasn't going to exist into perpetuity. But there's now a new hosting site that I'm using, and so you'll maybe notice that on the URL. I don't have my workflow down quite yet. Like I don't like the way that I have to structure things currently in order to post it where I'm posting it. So that's probably going to be a bit of an evolution going forward. But I should have given myself bullets. There were a couple of important things that I wanted to actually note, but I didn't want to. I didn't want to interfere with Snoopy and Woodstock there. So I didn't actually write bullets. One thing, I guess, while I kind of hopefully strike my mind in terms of what I wanted to mention regarding kind of changes moving forward. One thing that I think I can share. Now, this isn't something that I usually look at. Oh, I know what I meant to say. So, one thing that's going to change moving forward is I mentioned that I'm here to promote this way of structuring work. My mentality and my kind of comfort zone is just being a professor. I was a professor for so long, I still really kind of think of myself as a professor. Um, but upon reflection and kind of thinking about what this is, and being appreciative of all you of participating and watching, one of the things that I kind of came to the realization of as I'm watching other people do stuff on YouTube is that I probably should be a little more intentional about promotion. And so I have for myself a tangible goal. So as a industrial and organizational psychologist, we speak frequently about specific but attainable goals. And so a specific, concrete but attainable goal for me going into the new year is I am going to, and hopefully this doesn't annoy people too much, but I am going to ask people who stumble across this to participate in terms of kind of growing this idea and hopefully reaching other people and promoting this way of structuring work. So 3 times a video, I'm going to hit that little button. I'm not going to make a big deal out of it, but if we can get likes and subscriptions up, that's one way of advancing kind of and promoting this. Now, this is definitely outside of my comfort zone, but it's good to work outside of your comfort zone. That's how we grow, right? So I'm going to try it. We'll try it for this year moving forward. I get the other thing, I guess, consistent with that is I think people that do that, they have aspirations to grow their channels for kind of commercial purposes. I have absolutely no interest in that. I don't have any desire to make money off of this. I really just want to spread this way of structuring your work. I've been on this kick for a long, long time. I actually authored a book, a textbook that came out in, it's on my shelf back there. It was 2007 or 2008, and it was on this. It was on scripting and narration and keeping everything together. There wasn't the phrase reproducible research back then, but I've been a very strong proponent of structuring your work this way for so long. That's all I want to do. So I have no aspirations to any sort of money to make off of this. If we ever get to the point where this is a larger channel, will resist that monetization aspect. I hate ads on these YouTube sessions, and so I I love being small and we can not have to deal with that. And I'm telling you that if we ever get to the point where we're big enough where that's an option, that's not something that it's not something that interests me. So we won't be doing that. I thought what maybe I could show you is what I see, and I don't see this frequently because I don't go here, but there's some analytics in terms of the channel and how we're doing, what we're doing. And I just saw something right before we came on. Now I'm not sure how to actually get there. I thought it was in the analytics tab, but somewhere in here there's actually audience, maybe no. So and again, I value privacy a lot. So I'm not someone that's going to be digging through the. I don't know how much information I can get. I think I can get information about like where people live, not not like your home, but countries. I think this is what I was looking for. So I just wanted to show kind of what's going on here with the channel and what we're doing. And so there's about almost 7,000 views, which is great. Again, I know this is a this is a very niche subject, a very niche topic. I wish it wasn't, and eventually, hopefully, it won't be. But it's not it's not something that we're not talking pop culture here, right? If we were talking Star Wars, I imagine that we would be looking for larger numbers than that. But I'm so happy that there's people out there that are also interested in this, and so thank you, all of you, for being there and being part of this community. And as I said, if you want to help out, you can help me promote. I'm going to start being a little more explicit about that, liking and subscribing, and we'll see if that has any effect in terms of our ability to promote this way of structuring your work. Okay, so that's the state of the channel. Let's get into what happened last week. So another thing to state, I guess, if you are not someone that frequently watches this, the intent of this is first and foremost to be available if someone has questions. But secondly, we're exploring features in an unscripted, open-ended manner. And so the second half of each week's open office hours, it has been, and unless something happens, unless something different comes up within the way that it's probably going to be happening is the way it has been happening, which is the beginning of a session, I give a little intro. This is who I am. Hi, thanks for coming, that kind of thing. And like and subscribe, which I'll start doing now too. But the second half of the first part, we recap what happened the previous week because we're exploring it in this open-ended manner. And so if you're looking for, and it was a little surprising seeing some of those videos that had 200-300 views on them, because they're not intended to be tutorials or walkthroughs or this is how you do something. My intent is fully exploratory. Hey, what's this? That's kind of neat. That's shiny. Let's go check that out. Now, because of that, at the beginning of each week, when we do this, we'll do a recap, and the recap is intended to be a little more conducive to learning and a little more structured and hopefully a bit more tutorial-esque, even though they're not intended to be fully tutorials. All right, I'm talking too much. So let's get to a moose of fewer words here.
Our story opens today in, of all places, the headquarters of the Frostbite Falls Voice Binder Company, makers of first-class voice binders for home and industry.
Gentlemen, there's a great question to be decided here today.
Yes, Mr. Brett?
On it may rest the future of our beloved company.
What's the question, Mr. Brett?
When shall we have the company picnic?
For the 4th of July.
Groundhog Day.
Very well, gentlemen, very well. We'll compromise and hold it on my birthday.
Yes, Mr. Brett.
One question, sir.
Keep it short, Parkinson.
Will it rain that day?
Rain? Oh, dear, no.
That is a puzzle, Parkinson.
What about asking Bullwinkle Moose if it's going to rain?
Excellent idea, Lumpley.
Thank you, sir.
Glad I thought of it. Miss Bleen, get me Bullwinkle J. Moose.
And in a flash, a call went from the town's largest industrial plant to one of its smallest houses.
Hello? Rocky the Flying Squirrel speaking. Oh, it's for you, Bullwinkle. Somebody else wants a weather forecast.
Oh, Baz stairs. Just when I was catching up on my reading.
The Bobbsey twins at the seashore.
Yeah, you can't beat the classics, I only say. Hello.
So we actually ended the moon mouse kind of story that ended last week. So I show the beginning of these episodes. I don't show the end of them. Probably should have showed the ending of the moon mouse episode, just for closure, so you all know what happened. But if you're interested, you can go find that on YouTube and watch the end of the moon mouse episode. We're on to a new one now. The new one has to do with a bunion on Bullwinkle's foot. A bunion, I don't know if they still exist or not. That was something that was kind of popular when I'm watching my 1960s sitcoms, like Gilligan's Island. They would talk about bunions, and Bullwinkle's talking about bunions. It's something on your foot. That's all I know. But apparently it gets sore when the weather's about to change, and so everyone is after Bullwinkle to help predict the weather. That's what's going on now. So we'll probably be watching that for the next few weeks. Last week, what we did was we played with a scripting environment that is focused on notebooks. And notebooks, our previous introduction to notebooks was through Jupyter Lab. And I thought notebooks were kind of fun, and the environment is fun as well. Pluto, the Pluto scripting environment is also fun. I had a ton of fun with it. And it's intended to be used for one language, and that one language is Julia. Now, Julia is not a super popular language for scripting and analysis right now within the social and behavioral sciences. I do believe it's a little more popular in the hard sciences, which it's always a good idea to keep an eye on those sciences, because stuff seems to dribble down from them to us. And when I say us, I mean social and behavioral scientists. I guess I should say me and people like me. The reproducible research standard, the LaTeX way of scripting, which is kind of the first generation of, or tech would be the first generation of kind of this literate programming principle. But that all started in the hard sciences. And I wish I would have known about that a little earlier. But I'm glad I know about it now, and very happy to be using it. So Julia is certainly a language to keep an eye on, and Pluto is a very fun environment to work within. The thing I think that I appreciated the most was not knowing Julia, the AI integration that Pluto has, and so it's just so slick, and it's not you that are paying for this, it's whoever is actually supporting Pluto. Now, Julia, the language, I understand the genesis of that was at, I think, MIT and Massachusetts Institute of Technology. I do not know who's kind of in charge of Pluto, but it's another one of these free kind of open sourced kind of environments that there's so many of them that are available now. It's just awesome. It's an awesome time to be interested in these kind of analytical applications. So if you want to use Pluto, my understanding is that I'm saying Pluto weird, aren't I? I don't know. I feel like I should say it with less emphasis on the T. So I'm going to try to do that. So you do, I think, need to first install Julia if you want a local installation of Pluto. Yeah, that'll work. I think I can do that. Now, one of the things you can do with Pluto is you can just use it as your markdown editor as well. And so I've been doing that that's my excuse to go into Jupyter Lab, is I've been using that as if I want to do something with only markdown, no analytical component, only markdown, for whatever reason, I've started going into Jupyter Lab just to kind of keep it fresh in my mind of, oh yeah, that's an environment that you can go into as well. So if you want it locally, you do want to install Julia. I have some links on here for you to do that if you haven't done that yet. Once it's installed locally, you can actually activate it by, at the Julia prompt, entering these 4 commands. And that's what I did last week. There are also some online, if you don't want to install Julia locally, you can actually go online and play around with it. And they must have Julia loaded in a server sense as well, so you can actually do analyses. Like I said, I kind of like just playing with markdown, but you can do full legitimate analytical things within there as well. And then if you want to get some idea of the other types of notebooks that people are creating, that I have a link here. And again, I'm not saying these are good examples. This is just one example that I stumbled across that gives you an idea of what these published notebooks end up looking like. And now last week, at the end of last week, I generated one of these notebooks locally, just taking the script that's available here on this site. In these parentheses where it says notebook URL, that's actual script that you can paste into Pluto. I did it again, Pluto. And then locally you can actually run the notebook. Now, it took a long time to render on my machine, so we closed before the full rendering took place. But it did work, and it worked great on my machine. It just took a long time. And so I'm guessing that's kind of a first run through thing. So it was downloading a lot of supplementary packages that were needed to facilitate the capabilities within the notebook itself. Fun. I recommend Pluto. I'm going to come back to that and play with it a little more. I need to find a project. So I've found that the best way to learn these new things is to have a project that you're trying to complete, and then just force yourself to use that platform to complete the project. And so the next new project I start, I think I'm probably going to, depending on the nature of the project, but if there's like a data analysis, visualization, interactive something that I'm trying to do, I'll probably try to do it within Pluto. Now, I'm not going to do something complex like a dashboard or a website. Those, I think, have enough complexity that I'm going to stick with what I'm comfortable with. But if I'm just doing a one-off just analysis or something, I want to go back in there and play with it a little more. Okay, so tonight we're going to, again, we're kind of traversing the alphabet here, and we're up to the letter Q. By the way, I have a couple of ideas of mine for R for next week, but if somebody has something that you really want to see, drop me a note. That's how we looked at Prisma diagrams, was a loyal viewer and contributor here to this weekly session that we have. He actually said, hey, what about Prisma diagrams? And so if someone wants to drop a note about something you have an interest in that starts with the letter R, let me know. Otherwise, we'll probably just do reveal slides, because what you're looking at is a reveal slide, and I've had so much fun with them. Now, Quarto, you can actually, I did it just like Pluto. What is with me and my over-enunciation of the letter T? I don't know. Good thing no one's sitting right here with me, because you'd have spittle all over you, I think, the way that T is coming out. There's a link on here to a landing spot where you can actually install Quarto. Now, Quarto is sometimes presented as kind of the next generation of R Markdown. For years, I mentioned that I've been using this way of structuring work for maybe 9 or 10 years. The majority of that time, I've been using R Markdown packages. And so these operate just like any other package within R. So it works like ggplot, it works like the tidyverse, it works whatever your favorite packages that you use. You can also use a package that facilitates the creation of documents. And so our Markdown is kind of a general package. There's specific types of products that you might be interested in that often have their own packages. So there's a book down package, there's a blog down package, there's a thesis down package, there's a poster down package. The convention historically was the thing you're interested in and then append it with the suffix down. Now, Quarto is sometimes presented, and I've done this myself, as kind of the next generation of R Markdown. But as I've been using Quarto now for about 2 years, and I now use it fairly exclusively. I still have some legacy reports that are generated using R Markdown. But everything else that I do starting fresh, I use Quarto as the software to facilitate the creation of the thing. And the types of things that you can create are, I just put a few of them here, but these are kind of the big ones that you might want to create. You can do an HTML type document. You can do a typist document, which people love typist. I'm liking typist quite a bit as well. The more I use it, the more I like it. PDFs are also capable of being produced using Quarto. But these are kind of the big three document types that I've been focused on, and that Quarto, I believe, just kind of looking at their help pages. And by the way, there's a hyperlink to the help page on each of these icons individually. So if you want to click on those, it'll take you to HTML, it'll take you to PDF information. So Quarto, also you can create Microsoft type products. So you can do Word documents, you can do PowerPoint documents. We haven't been doing that weekly here. Long time ago, when we first started these weekly sessions, I think we did a PowerPoint slide, or we were trying to work on images and PowerPoint slides. I don't have any Microsoft products myself, so I wouldn't be able to verify that the rendered product actually comes out as you want it to come out. And I don't, honestly, everything I need and want to do is fully encapsulated and captured by these three types, which is really two types. It's just the typist and the PDF document types are two different routes, two different methods to produce the same thing, and the same thing is ultimately a PDF document itself. So I was also talking about Quarto as kind of the next generation of our markdown, and now that I've used it for a couple of years, it's not only not correct, it's probably it's definitely not the right way to think about Quarto. So Quarto, R Markdown is definitely tied to R. Those are packages that are facilitating the creation of something within R, using R as a language. The Quarto is an entirely separate piece of software. So Quarto, you install. I'm doing it with the T again. All right, I'm gonna stop being self-critical. Speaking of being self-critical. 3 times. I'm going to do it 3 times each video. So Quarto is an entirely separate piece of software. It doesn't care if you're using R or not. And as a matter of fact, coming to that realization will help you navigate the help pages of Quarto a little bit, because they're starting to get a little, I don't know if cluttered is the right word, but they're starting to get a little more content that populates different languages, or is focused on different languages, and is also focused on different kind of environments that you might be interested in leveraging Quarto from within. And so Quarto, I wouldn't any longer present it as the next generation R Markdown, because I think that's doing it a bit of a disservice. It's a fully independent piece of software, and so you can leverage this piece of software within RStudio with R. You can leverage it within Positron. And a couple weeks ago, we looked at Positron. You can use it within JupyterLab, and I believe, I haven't tested this, but we're going to test it tonight, because I think Quarto is such an independent piece of software that we should be able to generate a Quarto document just from a plain text file, just from a notepad file. And so I was really excited about tonight because of that. I really want to try that. I've been wanting to try that for a while, and I don't know why I haven't, but these weekly sessions provide a really good kind of reason to go ahead and do that. So Quarto, we shouldn't be presenting it, talking about it as the next generation R Markdown. Yes, it does similar things to R Markdown, but it's completely independent. It's its own piece of software. And so if you haven't installed Quarto, please go ahead and do it. I should actually take a look. Maybe I will update my version. Let's see what the most recent version of Quarto is. It's probably on their blog. Quarto 1.8. Is that the most recent? Okay. So I'm not as far behind as I was. I didn't mean to access positron. Go away, positron. What I wanted to do was look up my Quarto version. I do have 1.8.26. So I think I probably have a fairly up-to-date version of Quarto. Let's go ahead and see some of the things that Quarto actually does. So I'm going to close out of my weekly live stream here. And by the way, so as I port over from Bookdown as a hosting site to the new one, currently it's GitHub. I'm not sure I'm not sure what I'm going to do moving forward until I find the work process that I'm comfortable with. But I don't have any intentions of re-hosting these old slides that we're using on these weekly sessions. Unlike YouTube, where I have that analytics tab that says, there's been 7,000 views of these silly weekly things. Unlike that, I don't think I have the capability of looking and seeing if anyone's using the slides as they're hosted on Bookdown. I've mentioned this a few times. I hope people are, because I think that there's some good information in there. But I don't have any intention of taking those Bookdown hosted slides and duplicating them or mirroring them on my new hosting solution, whatever that ends up being. It's a little too much work for not knowing if anyone cares. So there are certain slides that I will port over, and those are ones that I think are important for people to have access to. I just put out, as some of you may have noticed, I put out a cut up video, a short video on how to use those Prisma diagrams within a R Markdown or Quarto authored document. And so when I was linking to the slides on an important part of that video is the slides, because the slides have code that you can copy and just put in your own document, and it'll create those Prisma flow diagrams. So stuff like that I'll actually mirror and port over to a new hosting solution, because my understanding is those old Bookdown hosted slides, they will remain active for a little while, but eventually they'll be put to bed. So those links will die out eventually. There's another I should mention as well in the comments. In addition to slides for this week, there's also a link to a slide that I put together, a slide deck that I put together that walks you through how to create a template report. And all you need, I think, to make your own report is Quarto. So you'll want Quarto installed. I also do use a package called Psych, but I think I put a install packages command within the copyable chunks there. So you should just need Quarto, and then you should be good to go. So Quarto, if you're in RStudio or if you're in Positron now comes with a Quarto extension bundled with it as well. If you're in Jupyter Lab, you're going to have to add the Quarto extension, but it's a type of file that you can actually work with within RStudio. And you see they keep kind of expanding the capabilities of things that you can generate within RStudio. Now Sweeve, I've never played with Sweeve, but Sweeve is one of the first capabilities that enables what we're doing now. So it's one of the first capabilities that married not just analysis, but the narration around your analyses as well. So it's nice to see that it's still actually there. One of these days, maybe when we get to S. When we get to S, let's do that. Let's look at Sweeve. I've never played with it, and so that'll be interesting. But within RStudio, we have two main boxes here in terms of interfacing with Quarto. And by the way, what we're going to see is not what we're going to see in terms of the wizard walking through in terms of what you can do with Quarto is not everything. So they're only giving you here within the walkthrough, within the wizard, they're only giving you the types of documents that they envision most people probably wanting to use. Now we have this window, I believe, is probably duplicated if I click on the presentation. So Quarto presentation or Quarto document, you're going to get this same wizard. RStudio, you got to clean that up. What's going on there? That's we don't need that. There's so much in this menu. We don't need a duplication there. But what it's doing is it's defaulting to one of these left-hand sidebar options if you select document or presentation. So those two are fully redundant. Those two options within RStudio are fully redundant. Looks to me like they're fully redundant. Now it's possible I'm missing something, so maybe one of them, maybe there's a slight difference, but to me it looks like they're fully redundant. The document types, you're going to see here duplication of kind of what this week's slides were focused on, except we don't see typists here. So we see HTML document, we see a PDF document, and we see a Word document. The engine, so there's kind of a R tradition in terms of your analytical engine, and there's a Python tradition, and those tend to be consequentially what you're going to, the way in which your analyses are structured in terms of the language is largely going to dictate what engine you want to use. Coming from an R tradition, Knitter is the engine that traditionally we've used within R Markdown, and it's the one that I use frequently as well by default. So that's what I like to use. I don't like the RStudio visual editor, so that on my machine just by default is going to be unchecked. You can give your Quarto documents a title if you want, or you can wait until it gives you a template document, and then you can populate author and title at that point. Let's put an author in there. So we'll say Bullwinkle J. Moose. And then we'll call it the Mooster piece. When I was cleaning up my files, I forgot that we had created a couple of documents called Mooster piece, and that was kind of funny. Presentations, the Reveal.js, the selection here that's chosen by default is the one that I've been playing with the most, and I love these. I've now made, just for these weekly sessions, I've made 111 slides, and those are all Reveal.js slides. Beamer, I have not played with. PowerPoint, I don't have any desire to play with, but we could if someone has an interest in that. And then in terms of interactive type documents, you can do a full shiny document. Now that's a little funny. We usually think about shiny elements, but I guess if you wanted to do probably a dashboard, you might want to come here. Now again, none of this wizard stuff is actually necessary. We can, once we get our template, we can alter it any way we want. Now your template, this file that you're looking at, a R script, a normal R script, has the extension on it of capital R. So capital R is the extension on an R script. On these Quarto documents, the convention is to assign it a QMD. So I believe that probably stands for Quarto Markdown. So QMD. On R Markdown, the package ecosystem, the extension on those most frequently is RMD. So QMD is a very easy transition in terms of file type if you're coming from a Markdown and R Markdown perspective. So this front matter here that you see is called a YAML. So YAML is an acronym, and I've seen the acronym kind of deconstructed two different ways. The way that I learned about it was YAML stands for YAML Ain't Markdown Language, which is funny because it uses the acronym within the definition of the acronym, kind of very meta. But again, programmers and people that come up with this stuff, they have such a wonderful sense of humor. And they just kind of embed jokes everywhere. I love it. So the front matter that you see, this 3 blue dashes and 3 blue dashes at the end, everything within there is saying, I want this to happen to my entire document. Now, Quarto, one of the kind of branding phrases that are used with Quarto is that it creates what are called publication ready documents. And that just means they're very nice and polished and they look great. But we can actually alter the look of our documents within the YAML. And so one of the things we can add is a theme. Now there's different types of themes for different types of documents. If I just do Quarto theme, I can't spell tonight. Quarto theme, what are we creating? An HTML file. So we'll look for HTML theming. These are not fully shared across different file types. I haven't, I don't know that these previews, I haven't had a lot of fun navigating themes. I don't know if there's a better way to do it or not. But you can add themes. You can add all kinds of functionality here within the YAML. So this is one component of your Quarto document in terms of the scripting aspect of it. And so we're looking at a QMD file. We see some markdown here. This indicates a second level header. And so this is Quarto is going to be a header. This is going to be within the angled brackets here. That's going to be a hyperlink. We see another header. We see 2 asterisks surrounding a word. That's going to make that bold. I think it's bold. Let's put a 1 asterisk next to it. And I think 1 asterisk is italics. Then we see a code chunk. And so code chunks, this is really where you start to see some of the power of Quarto, is we can mix our analysis and our description of the analysis or our narration. And that is done through these code chunks. Code chunks are identified by 3 ticks. You start with 3 ticks and you end with 3 ticks. And then in curly brackets here, you're saying what language you're interested in. You can have all kinds of languages. You can have, just by default here, they have R and Python, of course. But you can add chunks that are specifying diagrams. We've played with these. We've played with both GraphViz and Mermaid diagrams. You can have a Julia code. You can have SQL. You can have all kinds of stuff. This is not exhaustive. There's all kinds of different code chunks that you can have. I frequently, within my Quarto documents, I'll add a CSS code chunk. And so I'm just following the same convention that we used with R, but I can put CSS in here. So if I want to look at, let's see, CSS font, I guess. No, we don't want font. CSS size. Let's do text size. Play with that. This W3 Schools, I think I've mentioned it before, but it's a wonderful place to play with CSS. Now what I want is I actually want font size, I think. I don't want general size. I want font size. There we go. So let's take this. And I'm going to put it in here and we'll give it a name. Now this, again, this is not a CSS session. I'm just showing you that you can do all kinds of different things within these Quarto documents. And so I'm just saying I'm creating a new rule, and that rule, when you see it, I want the font size to be 15 pixels. Now let's actually make it noticeable. So we'll do 25. I usually don't use the pixel convention, but if I want to kind of focus on a section that I'm interested in applying that styling, I can use what's called a bracketed span. And so what I want to affect, I enclose here in these square brackets, and the effect I want, I use this adjacent curly bracket convention. So let's render this. We'll keep an eye on a couple of things. We'll keep an eye on the theme because we changed that. And then we'll look at render button and a document and see if that looks funny at all. or good, I guess, funny or good. Now, one of the things, well, I'm not gonna talk about that, I guess, tonight. So here we see render with the two asterisks is bolded, button is italicized, and then a document is larger. If we wanted to, what I use quite a bit in terms of a unit is I love using this EM specification. I the way I interpret that is enlargement magnification. Now that's not the technical meaning of it, uh, but that's kind of the effect that it actually has. So 4EM just simply means four times the regular, or what's normally being displayed in terms of the size itself. Here you see the code chunk output as well as the code chunk itself. Within Quarto, there are there's all kinds of different overrides that we can have to how information is processed within these chunks themselves. The Quarto convention is to use this hashtag pipe, vertical pipe, and then you can set the echo to false. You can set warnings. You can do figure captions. You can do labels. Here's a listing of kind of the types of commands that we can introduce here within each individual code chunk that will control the way things look and the way that they're treated. Now, most of those, maybe all of those, you can also apply to the entire document if you want to populate them within your YAML itself. So if I re-render this now with the echo false, my expectation is I'm still going to get this, but I won't get the 1 plus 1 because I'm asking that not to be echoed in my document. You can start to see some of the power of Quarto, just how much control you have over how information actually looks. And what else do I want to say about this? There are so many different things you can produce using this system. You can produce not only HTML documents, you can change it really quickly and really easily if you want to a different document type. Now I'm going to take the theming off, and maybe what I'll do is within your YAML, the same commenting convention is used as we use within code chunks. So if I normally wanted to annotate my file and say, this is very important, remember what you did, which is what comments are supposed to be used for. I used to be very good about also dating my comments. Now this is not as important anymore because of the way that I structure my work. I use GitHub, and GitHub kind of keeps a record of dates of things, but historically I would date my comments. So I'm going to use the same commenting convention here in the YAML to, instead of delete this theme that won't work with a different document type, I'm just going to say it's still there. I can uncomment that if I go back to a PDF, if I go back to an HTML file at some point. But I can render as a PDF, I can render as a typist document. The PDF rendering is going to take the longest out of all three of those types, and that's because traditionally the creation of a PDF is accomplished not from the markdown itself, but from an intermediate step, which is a text file. And so the creation and specification of that text file is what's taking a little bit longer in terms of the rendering. There's my nice PDF. The typist will, by default, it has some different fonts that, of course, we can override, but by default they're going to come up. And so things are going to look just a little bit different, but it's going to render faster, and it's still going to give me a PDF document that I can take and share. And these typist documents are just great. They're wonderful. I love them. Love them so much. We can make websites. We can make dashboards. We can make standard documents like these. We can do papers. We can write APA formatted papers if you're a psychologist. There's so much that we can do with Quarto. One of the things I wanted to do tonight was I wanted to actually see if we could render a Quarto document from some of these different platforms. And so Spot, let's see where Spot is. I don't even know where I am here. Where am I? This looks like users documents. So let's see here. I'm going to try to see where I'm at so we can actually so we can pull up this same script from within a different environment and then see if we can render it. Where the heck is my documents? Now, I usually don't have this view. So I don't know what's going on. I usually actually have, I actually much prefer a detail view. There we go. It's a little easier to see. These are my documents. And what do we call it? Spot. Is there a spot here? There is a spot here. And there's my HTML file and there's my PDF. If I pull it up, should be able to, oh, it's coming up in my Microsoft Edge. So let's actually go into a different environment. And so we'll open up Jupyter Lab. So I need to get to the right space. And within Jupyter Lab, there is a different way to interact, or there's a different way to actually look at and get feedback from your Quarto document, and that is to preview. Now, preview versus render, there's, in my opinion, the documentation on Quarto hasn't done a great job of distinguishing between those two, and that probably has something to do with the different platforms that people use to interact with Quarto. But within Jupyter Lab, preview makes a lot more sense, I think. Within our studio, I'm not sure how the word preview is actually used, so rendering is typically what's done within our studio. Here, we're gonna actually, we will actually do a preview. So I'm in the right space. I'm just gonna ask for spot to be previewed. So I'm going to say Quarto preview spot. See what it does. Now within, oh, there we go. So there it is. You know what? I forgot that it was a PDF. So I thought we were going to do an HTML file, but that's okay. So Jupyter Lab, the interface, you're going to want to operate at the terminal within Jupyter Lab. Now the thing that I'm really interested in doing is, oh, I guess let's take another look at that quickly, because I do have some R script in there. So let's see if that, yeah, that came out fine. Now my kernel, what I actually have operating currently, what I actually have operating within Jupyter Lab, doesn't say I have anything going, so I'm not sure how that actually worked. Interesting. That's very interesting, because that actually is relevant for what I was very curious to do. First of all, let's see what happens if I'm completely outside of any environment whatsoever. I'm just at my console here. I should be able to issue the same commands, either preview or render. And I should get that document. There, it's running through. So you can actually ask for these Quarto commands to occur outside of these scripting environments. And that, again, that's when I say that it's not proper to think about Quarto as the next generation R markdown, this speaks to that as well. This really highlights that it's an independent piece of software. So if I look in my folder now, you see that 654, it was just created right now. So just at my command terminal, we created it. So let's do this. What I'm really interested in, what I've always wanted to do and never have done, but you good people are going to see it here. Oh, you good people, remind me one more time here. There's my 3. So I've done my penance for today. What I'm really curious to do is to see if we can render a Quarto document just not using anything at all other than Quarto. So I'm going to, in a notepad file, I'm actually going to write some Quarto commands. Now, if let's go back to our studio for a second. If I get rid of the YAML entirely, the Quarto is still going to apply some default YAML information to this file. So if I ask for this to be rendered, by default, it's going to assume that it's an HTML file. And so it will still go ahead and work. Now, normally, we actually do want to have a YAML because we want control over how things appear. But this is going to be consequential for my first attempt here at a Notepad file because I'm not going to put in any YAML to start with. Let's just see if this works. I'm so excited about this. This is exciting. Let's try some Quarto stuff. And one thing we can try is just bullets. And so this is, we'll see what this looks like. But I'm using, because I use this process quite a bit, I kind of know some of the markdown. I know on these weekly sessions, we like to do images. And we like to do cartoon images. So who should we do? Who's a good cartoon to do today? Is there anything topical? Okay, January 6th. I guess that's not good. We don't need to wade into that minefield here. So this is a politics-free zone. So we're not going to do any January 6th. Let's do, who's an obscure Snagglepuss? I guess I kind of go back to him every once in a while. I don't know why. I love the old Hanna-Barbera cartoons. So I'm going to copy the address for Snagglepuss there, and I'm going to put him in. And that's probably enough to just see if this actually works. So I'm going to save this as a QMD to start with, and then we'll see if it works as a text file as well. This is so, we need a drum roll. If you're out there watching, do a drum roll, please. Now I feel like I'm in a not European, but Christmas vacation. You know, I didn't get to see Christmas Vacation this year. I don't have, I don't have good TV. I don't have cable and that kind of stuff. So trying Quarto, we'll call it. And I'm going to give it that QMD extension. I don't know if that has any consequence or not. But I saved it in the same folder that we have our command terminal open to right here. So let's try it. So let's try Quarto render. Oh no, what did I call it? Trying Quarto. .qmd. I don't know if it's still open. I don't know if that, look at, it's doing something. It's doing something, people. Yes! We just did a Quarto document with a Notepad file. That is so awesome. That is exciting. Yes, you're right, Snagglepuss. That's very exciting. That is so cool. I didn't know you could. I mean, I assumed that you could, but I never tried it. You don't need no stinking IDE. You don't need Jupyter. You don't need Positron. You don't need RStudio. You can just, I wouldn't recommend it, but you could actually just do your Quarto document in a format like this. So let's see if we can get maybe a typist document. Ooh, let's do a slide. Let's see if we can get that. Now, in these slides, different slides are indicated by this double hash mark. I'm kind of afraid to give it too much just because my scripting might be missing a double quote or have a space in the wrong place or do something really weird. So I probably shouldn't get too elaborate here, but let's see if we can do a as I say, we shouldn't get too elaborate. Let's see if we can do a theme. So Quarto reveal theme. Sounds like a Harry Potter command. Quarto review theme. I don't have a wand, so nothing's gonna happen. Uh, and I'm not a wizard, so I don't really have the power for that anyway. I forgot they had Dracula. Let's do the Dracula theme. Just I went to our studio by habit right there. Is there any way this is gonna work? Does anyone have any sort of feeling on that? Um, I'm gonna call it something else. So we'll do Quarto slide because I want to give it that text extension. So I want to see if that has any consequence. I don't know that I really don't. It could go either way on this. I'm really not sure. I got too much going on here. Let me close out of some of the stuff before we try that. Uh, okay, so let's try it. Now, my memory is getting so bad. I forgot what we called it already. I'm just too excited. I'm too excited that we got it to work with a text file. Quarto render reveal? Oh no, what did we call it? Quarto slide. I didn't like that. So I wonder if that extension is consequential. Kind of looks like it might be, huh? So I changed it now to a QMD. And it's thinking more, so I think that's good. It says it created something. Oh my goodness. Can you imagine? Can you imagine doing all of this within a plain text? This is so cool. Oh, I am so excited. You know what this means? Now you could build Quarto documents on the airplane on your phone if you wanted to. I don't know. I just think that's super neat. I'm so glad that we tried that. This is honestly kind of amazing. We can add some more specification in here. One of the things I guess before we end tonight, I should mention that within the YAML, a very common error that I'll get out of Notepad now. I know I'm kind of geeked up about it, but I'll get back into an environment that more of you are probably interested in, which would be our studio. I was going to look at Positron tonight as well, but we saw it worked with Notepad. I don't think we need to go to Positron. I do like that Dracula theme. So let's go back to reveal format type, and we will do the Dracula theme. Now, again, it's going to treat each of these double hashtags as a separate slide. So I'm going to have to, just so stuff doesn't run over pages or slides, I'm going to put a couple extras in there. And then I want to show kind of a common error within specifying your documents using Quarto. Doing it within Notepad, that's just the best thing ever. That was so cool. What is Snagglepuss's? You think that's his? You think he has a surname? I guess I'm not sure. We'll call him Snaggle J Puss, like Bullwinkle J Moose. What does the J stand for in Bullwinkle J Moose? So you see we still have our CSS in there. This is a little unexpected. So that must be a part of the theme, but in addition to the way in which the bolding and the italics are coming through are not just bold and italics, but there's some coloration on there as well. These Reveal.js slides are so slick. There's all kinds of functionality that you can see and play with here. If you want to hit those 3 horizontal bars. But again, I think next week we'll probably, unless someone has a different idea. I think next week we'll probably spend the whole week on these Reveal.js slides because they are so fun. The thing I wanted to mention before we stop tonight is if you want to get very elaborate with what your document looks like, within your YAML, the way that that's done is to use different levels of specification. So if I want to get more elaborate with commands that I'm interested in applying to my Reveal.js slide, I'm going to take that Reveal.js format specification that was previously on line 4. I'm going to hard return, and I'm going to tab over, or go, I have my tab set so it's 2 spaces, but so 2 spaces over, and then another colon specification, and then I'm going to get more specific down here. One of the things I like to do on these Reveal.js slides is I like to enable the mouse wheel. By default, it's not enabled, but enabling that means that I can navigate this just by scrolling instead of using the arrow keys. And so let's go ahead and re-render. Excuse me. Now popping that out, I don't have to take my hand off the mouse. I'm navigating it with the wheel now. You could also do that with the arrow keys as well. But what I wanted to mention was the consequentiality of indentations. And so if I were to miss that hard indent on line 5 of my YAML, and this is true of every document type, not just these Reveal.js slides, this is true within Quarto. The YAML indentations are consequential, so you really have to pay attention. Now I'm expecting this to throw an error. The error messages that you're getting from Quarto have been steadily improving as I've used it. So they actually are getting a lot better about where the error is. Now positron takes a little while to get used to, but positron gives you row and column. Oh, look at that. I think this is new within RStudio. This is definitely something that I noticed within positron, was it gives you information about not just the row where the error is, but also the column. And this is hugely informative and beneficial. And so it's not being super specific, but it helps you locate where that actually is. So even if I were just to give it 1 space instead of those 2, I'm still expecting it to throw an error. Oh, looks like it took that. Okay, so the one space indentation it was actually okay with. We'll try that with the mouse wheel as well. So this might be something that the Quarto people have actually been working on internally. Either I'm misremembering the consequentiality of these misspecified indents, or they've actually done something to kind of remediate that. Now this one's going to be bad for sure, but it looks like currently with current versions of Quarto, and I'm speaking a little out of turn here, but it looks to me like as long as your indentations are following the proper ordering, such that the specificity is indented further over than the format, and the format type is indented over further than the format specification, it looks like it's actually tolerant of that, which is great. So it looks to me like it's become more tolerant, which is different than most of us, because as we get older, most of us become less tolerant. I know that's true of me. I'm a very intolerant, mean person, other than to you people. So I'm very happy that you people are here. Thanks for continuing to support what we do. I do appreciate it, and I have fun, and I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad we have a little community of people that are interested in structuring their work this way. Okay, enough schmarmy from me. I will see you all next week.